You know, when you open the last book of the Bible, Revelation, it can feel like you've stepped into this wild, vivid, and honestly kind of mysterious maze of symbols. But some of the most powerful figures in the whole book are three very distinct women. So who are they? In this explainer, we're going to dive into one pastor's interpretation of this prophetic puzzle to figure out what they represent and why they're still so important today.
All right, here's how we're going to break this down. First, we'll set the stage for this whole mystery. Then, we'll meet each of these women one by one. You've got this radiant figure in the sky, then a corrupt woman riding a beast, and finally, the bride everyone's been waiting for. And by the end, we'll connect all the dots and see why these ancient symbols are so incredibly significant.
So let's set the scene. The book of Revelation. It came to the Apostle John as this incredible, overwhelming vision. It's this complex tapestry of prophecy. And woven right into it are these three female figures. Now, these aren't literal people walking around, but powerful symbols that stand for huge spiritual and historical realities.
And that's really the big question we're tackling today, isn't it? Who are these women? Are they supposed to be individuals, maybe nations, or entire systems of belief? Based on the sermon we're looking at, we're going to unpack the clues together and try to solve this biblical mystery.
Okay, let's jump in with woman number one. Our investigation starts in Revelation chapter 12, where John sees what he calls a great sign up in heaven. It's our first woman, and the way she's described is, well, it's absolutely cosmic.
I mean, wow. Just take that in for a second. Dressed in the sun itself, standing on the moon, and wearing a crown made of 12 stars. This is clearly not just anybody. She's a figure of immense importance. But who she is, well, that's been up for debate for a long time.
Now, you might have heard that this woman is Mary, the mother of Jesus, and that's a really common view. But the interpretation we're digging into today says, hang on, the clues point to something much, much bigger. The details, especially that crown of 12 stars, seem to point directly to a whole group of people, the nation of Israel.
And there you have it. The pastor's take is that this first woman symbolizes the nation of Israel. She represents God's people from the Old Testament, the family line that the Messiah was promised to come through, and the one he was eventually born into.
And this isn't just a random guess, right? There's a ton of backup for this in the Old Testament. The prophets were constantly using the metaphor of a woman, often calling her the daughter of Zion, to talk about the nation of Israel, especially a woman in the agony of childbirth. And those 12 stars on her crown? I mean, come on, that's a pretty clear nod to the 12 tribes of Israel.
But the story doesn't stop there. The chapter then introduces this great red dragon, who we're told is Satan. He tries to destroy her child and then goes after the woman herself. She has to run away into the wilderness where she's protected. When you think about it, this big epic story of being hunted down but then miraculously protected, well, that fits the long, often tragic history of the nation of Israel way better than it fits the life of just one person.
Okay, buckle up. Because if the first woman was all heavenly light, our second figure is the complete opposite. We're talking a total 180 here. We shift from a woman who is pure and glorious to one who is soaked in corruption, and she gets introduced with one of the most shocking titles you can imagine.
So an angel basically tells John, come here, I've got something to show you. And it's the punishment of this great prostitute. The vibe immediately turns dark and dangerous. She's not connected to heaven, she's all about worldly power, sitting on top of this monstrous beast. Let's look at the details because they paint a really vivid picture. First, she's dripping with wealth, purple, scarlet, gold, jewels. She's got this golden cup, but it's filled with disgusting, abominable things. And she gets her power from riding this terrifying beast. But the most chilling part? She is literally drunk with the blood of believers. She's the absolute antithesis of the first one.
So, who is this? The Bible gives her a name, Babylon the Great. Now, according to this interpretation, we're not talking about the ancient city. Nope. This is a symbol for the entire corrupt world system, a global machine built on idolatry, greed, and fighting against God. It's false religion and worldly power all rolled into one ugly package.
Okay, this part is super important. When the Bible talks about prostitution here, it's not literal. It's about spiritual cheating. It's the idea of saying you follow God, but on the side you're also chasing after money, power, fame, political ideologies, all those worldly idols. It's mixing true worship with things that are totally opposed to it.
All right, after all that darkness and corruption, the curtain pulls back, and it's like a flood of light. We finally meet our third and final woman, and everything changes. The mood shifts from judgment to pure joy and hope. Say hello to the bride.
I mean, what a change of pace. It's like a cosmic wedding announcement. The whole of heaven is erupting in celebration because the wedding of the Lamb, a title for Jesus Christ, is finally here. And his bride, our third woman, she's ready. This is the moment the whole story has been building towards. So, the big reveal. Who is she? According to this pastor's teaching, the bride is the church. Not a building, of course, but the entire community of believers from all of history, all brought together as one. She's also called the New Jerusalem, the holy city of God, a people who have been made pure and ready to be united with Christ forever.
And again, this isn't just pulled out of thin air. The Bible connects the dots for us. Revelation flat out says the bride is the holy city, Jerusalem. And this metaphor isn't new at all. The Apostle Paul used this exact same language, writing to the church in Corinth that he wanted to present them as a pure virgin to Christ. It really solidifies this image of the church as the bride.
Okay, so let's take a step back. We've met our three women: Israel, the mother, Babylon, the prostitute, and the bride, who is also the New Jerusalem. But what's the point of all this symbolism? Well, the pastor frames it as a tale of three cities, and each one represents a different way of life, a different allegiance, and a very different destiny.
Let's put them side by side so you can really see the contrast. You've got the sun-clothed woman, Israel, who is loyal to God and is divinely protected. Then you have the great prostitute, Babylon, loyal only to herself and the world's power, and her destiny is judgment and destruction. And finally, you have the bride, the church, loyal to Christ, whose destiny is to be united with him forever. You see? 3 women, 3 loyalties, and 3 totally different endings.
So when you boil it all down, what this teaching really lays out is a fundamental choice. It's a choice between 2 ways of life. You have the way of Babylon, a system all about spiritual compromise, rebellion, and putting yourself first, and then you have the way of the bride, a community that's defined by faith, purity, and a singular devotion to Christ.
And that really brings it home for us today, doesn't it? The book of Revelation, it's not just some dusty old book with weird symbols. If this interpretation is right, these women represent 2 spiritual realities that are still active today. So the real question it leaves us with is, which system does your life align with? Which story are you a part of? It's a pretty powerful thing to think about. Thanks for exploring this with me.